Hey, Zero here, and today we're going to take a look at Aperture. What is it, what can you do with it, and what are the use cases for it? So there's a lot of ways to control how much light goes into your camera, how much light you pick up. And Aperture is one of those things that is a great tool to use. It has not that many uses, but the ones it does have are very powerful. So I have put on my completely manual lens. You can see my other lens is right here. I was going to use this one to show this off. You can see the hexagon shape sort of in there. I'll leave it better in focus. This is a fully manual lens, so I can't show you too much. The one that's currently on the camera, I mean. But anyways, I was going to show it off with this one, but this one does not respond too well with video. Even in full manual mode, it still messed around with the settings a little bit, which made it not as clear. So let's put that lens away, and I'll use this manual lens. So hopefully the focus will be right, because like I said, everything is manual. So aperture. Let me first just turn the aperture ring, so there might be a little bit of shaking here as I'm trying to move it. As you can see here, the scene's getting brighter and brighter, brighter. Okay, so this is at the lowest aperture number, 1.8, which means that it is fully open, as wide open as it can be. Oh, this is going to be hard to show. Okay, let me turn that back a little bit. You can see like the background completely vanishes. Like you can't see anything anymore. So this is interesting because you can't even... Hello? There's my hand. I couldn't even see my hand. You can completely flush out the background like this. Not really the best case for it, but you see what it does. So it basically increases the amount of light that hits your sensor, but it does more than just that. And that's what I want to show you here. So a lower aperture number, it means it's fully open, lets in the most amount of light. As we turn the dial the other way, we go into the higher numbers, and we're now at 16, which is the smallest opening. I know it's confusing, but you'll get used to it. So let me show you what the use cases are. So let me start turning the focus dial here, and you'll see that we go out of focus. Now let me turn this up a little bit, and let me find the exact focus that we want. Getting there. Okay, you're starting to see that the front here is starting to get into focus while the back is not. Now if I start to, I'm not sure how well this will, wrong way, that way, show. See that? See how the rest just came into focus? Well, that is the thing you can do with aperture. If you combine aperture with your focus, you're actually shifting your depth of field. That's what it's called, depth of field. So that means that it literally is how deep you can see sharply. When your aperture is at its highest value, that means your field of, not field of view, depth of view is the highest, so you can see the deepest, the sharpest. If we start dialing back the aperture, so go to a lower aperture number, you can start to see that we're starting to fade out and only have sharpness back in the front here. And if we keep going, you'll see that even that goes out of focus. So we can try to dial in that focus a bit better. There we go, you can see this is in focus, this is absolutely not. Let's keep going, let's put this on full wide open mode. And I'm going to very slowly start dialing this. As you can see, like our focal point is really at the front. So if we keep dialing this back, you'll see all of a sudden just the back is in focus. Focal point is like right there. And this is not fully in focus, this is definitely not in focus. So combining your focal length, I guess, and focus with aperture can give you really good results. And that is basically, in very much essence, what the whole bokeh effect is, or however you pronounce it. I'm still not entirely sure, but where the background is defocused and the front subject is in full focus. That is pretty much using this effect. Now there's more that comes to it. As you can see, as we dial this back, everything starts to get back into focus. So if you have a bigger subject and you want to get everything in focus, you want to shoot with as high of a f number as you can. Currently we are, let me fully dial this, in f16, which means it's the narrowest, keep that in mind, and we can see the most. if we dial this all the way to the end, you'll start seeing the focus shift, and we're at f1.8, and our focal length is like, yay. I know it's hard to see, but it's like just back there. So hopefully this gives you an idea of what the aperture is and what the aperture does and what you can do with it, the applications. It is how much light you let into your sensor. Now the highlights, as you can see, having it wide open at 1.8 for this particular lens is very good for letting in a lot of light. Like, it's super bright in here, way oversaturated, so this is not good, but you know what I mean. But it also creates a problem with your depth of field. And to adjust that, you basically have to shoot at higher f numbers, and you'll start to see that more and more of your scene will be in focus. So you can very much play with it and figure out what you actually need to have in focus. Is your subject that you need to have on peak focus, is it very small, very flat in terms of the depth of what you're taking a picture of? I know we're in 2D space with pictures, but 3D works as well, and it works on film, so you know what I mean. Is your subject very shallow? That's not a nice thing to say to people when you're taking portraits. You know what I mean. So is that very flat? So is it like something like a wall, for instance? You know, that does not have a lot of depth to it. You can see where my hand goes in focus and goes out of focus very quickly. So if you're doing something like flat, then you don't need that much depth of field. But if you're doing something that has a lot of depth to it, maybe some flowers that you really want the front of the petal as well as the core to be fully in focus, or maybe not, then this is what you can play with. Hopefully this was helpful to you. If it was, well, leave a comment down below and a like, and keep following this series. We're going to go through all of the, at the very least, all the pillars of photography, and then move on to the more advanced stuff. This one was already a little bit advanced, but I feel like it's such an important thing that goes with aperture. Aperture is not just the opening of the iris, it really comes together with the focus, and it really shows you what you can do and what you can play with.